Anyway.
Hi.
I am doing watercolor today. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and start. I don't really want to do a super long intro today, but yeah, bye I guess. Alright, so I'm going to be using watercolor paper and also washing tape. This is only going to go around the edges temporarily, so when I take it off, there will be a nice white border around the edges. This isn't necessary at all. Actually, I'm not going to do this step in the next painting, but for this one, I wanted a border around the edges, so that's why the tape is there. I'm using a mechanical pencil to sketch out my drawing with. It's actually a really light pencil. I did this on purpose because I didn't want any of the sketch to show up after I erased it. Sometimes if you use a dark pencil, it'll even show up after you erase it, and I didn't want this to happen. Okay, now, does anyone have any guesses as to what I'm drawing? No? Okay. So this is my dog, Oliver. We call him Ollie for short. He's a golden doodle puppy. We've had him for about 8 months now. Other than when he's chewing things up, he's a very good boy. He also has a bajillion dog toys. We have no idea where they come from. They just show up sometimes. Okay, also his eyes were like really hard to draw this time. Usually they're not, but this time I had to redraw them over and over and over again. Also, like, I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. It was so infuriating. So, then I realized that the only thing I really had to do was make the eyes larger. There was really no need for a mental breakdown. Sorry about that. After I finished drawing the eyes, everything else was actually really simple. I started drawing the background as the reference picture showed it. He was sitting in my room, but
I didn't like the way that looked,
so I ended up changing how the background looks entirely. Instead, I'm actually just going to be drawing some random backyard scene. This is not based off of any real place. It just is a backyard. I don't know why I found that amusing. All I was trying to say is that this is not a real place. Not that there aren't a million other places that look exactly like this in the world. The next thing that I decided to add to my background are some clouds. They're almost as fluffy as Ollie's fur. Wait a second. Actually, Ollie doesn't have fur. He's actually hairless. No, I'm just kidding. Technically golden doodles have hair, not fur. That's why they're considered hypoallergenic. Not that everybody's not allergic to them, but you know. Whoa, I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. I don't really know what I was trying to prove, but whatever I was trying to, it has been said. Anyway, right now I'm using a fine liner to outline my drawing with. These are basically just very skinny markers that I use to outline most of my art with. They're very useful though. Truthfully, you could just use any black pen or marker. Actually, I guess it doesn't even have to be black. You could use any skinny pen or marker. If you're using wet media, you might want to use something waterproof. They definitely do make waterproof pens and markers, so that's nice. The line art is usually my least favorite part of any type of art project, with traditional art at least. With digital art, the line art can be kind of fun, but that's really only because there's an undo button, so you don't have to worry about messing up at all. You could always correct your mistakes very easily with digital art, but with traditional art, they have yet to invent an undo button. I'm still waiting for that, by the way. I had to wait about a minute for all of the ink to dry, and then I took an eraser and got rid of all of the sketch underneath. It was very important that I waited for the ink to dry though, because if not, it probably would have smeared whenever I tried to erase it. Okay, now I could finally start the enjoyable part. I have all of my watercolors, and I'm finally ready to start adding color to my drawing. The color of Ollie's fur, hair, sorry. It's a very specific color. I found this reddish brown color, and it was pretty similar to the actual color of his hair, but it wasn't exact. It was a little darker. I don't know how exactly to describe the color of his hair. It's kind of a sandy color. I know some golden doodles have kind of reddish fur, and Ollie looked like that when he was a little puppy, but as he's grown, his hair's turned into kind of a more light brown color, which I love. Watercolors are definitely my favorite type of paint by far. They're very easy to use and it's easy to get a lot of coverage with them. Also, the color of Ollie's nose was really hard to imitate. It's very light brown. I think I might have went too dark. I'm not really sure. Painting the grass was really stressful. Really it's this way with any big area with watercolor. I was just afraid it would get splashy, but as long as you go quickly enough, it should be fine. I didn't really have a problem with it. It's just something that I always worry about. It was really fun to paint all of the little bushes in the tree. I loved using all the fall colors. Although honestly, I think all of the leaves have already fallen off the trees, which is kind of sad. It looks pretty good so far, but it's a little bit faded. So I'm going to go over every area of color one more time just to make sure everything is nice and vibrant. I really wish that I had left Ollie's hair the same color. I think I accidentally used a different shade of brown to do the second layer with, which was not very good. I don't know what else to say, but it is what it is. It's not terrible. I just liked the original color better. I also colored the sky blue. Well, it was already blue, but I made it more blue. Once everything dried, I added a little bit of shading. I know it's a cartoon, but it's still nice to add shading to the areas that it needs it, so that everything has a little bit more depth. And finally, I did his eyes. They're not actually this green. I don't really know how to describe the color of his eyes either, but I think I should have made them a little bit more brown. Alright, now all I have to do is peel off all of the tape. Trust me, you really want to go slow during this part. If you pull back too hard, it can easily tear the paper, and I don't want that to happen to all of my hard work. I also signed it. I wrote Carson because that's my name. And here it is. I really like it. I know it took a long time, but I think all of my work paid off and I love it. Okay, so I think I have time for one more painting. I'm drawing a carousel. Have I ever written one of these before? Okay, so I think I've written like the little baby ones that they have at the mall, and then I've written the ones that they have on the zoo with all the zoo animals on it. But I don't think I've ever written a traditional one like that they have at the fair. But they're all pretty much the exact same thing. And it's looking pretty good so far. So next I'm going to be adding all of my animals. I'm doing different fantasy creatures. This one's a dragon, clearly. He's very, very intimidating. Not many people even ride this carousel because the dragon is just so scary. No, I'm just kidding. I actually wanted it to be cute. I know a lot of people like to draw dragons, but I generally don't unless they're really cute and stupid looking like this one. I drew a unicorn next. It was pretty straightforward. So next I drew a griffin. Actually, funny story. I drew a griffin the other day. I named her Swirly because she was covered in swirls, but I didn't take the time to think that that name could have another meaning. It would have been cool if I had drawn like a carousel with balloon animals on it, but I guess I'd drawn enough of those already. I kind of wonder if that exists though now. Oh yeah, the edge of the crown is like slightly crooked and it bothers me just a little bit. Sorry to point that out if that's gonna drive anyone crazy. Outlining all the animals for some reason was really fun. I don't know if it's because it was just a bunch of tiny details or what, but I liked to do all of their little faces and their wings and stuff. It was pretty fun. I try my best not to like rush whenever I'm doing the outlining part, but sometimes that's hard because I'm ready to color it, and doing the line art can be kind of boring sometimes. But now I'm erasing it, so that means that we're pretty close to me being able to paint it, so that's cool. I wanted my colors to be a lot softer this time, so that's why I chose to use my pastel watercolors. And I'm just going to take a larger brush to do a nice background with. The colors actually might look a lot lighter than they are in person. Even though they're pastels, I still made them pretty vibrant because I wanted you to be able to see them a good bit. But I think my blinds were open at this point, so the light kind of shined on them and made them look really light. But it still looks good so far, I think. The colors of the carousel itself are actually just saturated versions of the color of the background. That's one good thing about watercolor. You can always change how dark or light a color is by adding more or less water. I do really like the color scheme that I chose for the carousel, mainly because these are my 4 favorite colors already, but I still like the pastel colors. Actually, they're really not that pastel. I made them not dark, but you know, some people like super washed out pastels, but really when I say pastel colors, I just mean like slightly lighter colors. Okay, now I only have one last step. Basically, I'm just adding a very saturated version of each color under the base of the carousel for some shading. This will just make it look like it's not floating in the middle of nowhere. Well, it still kind of does, but you know. And they're both done. I actually really like both of them. There's not a whole lot I would change about either of them other than a few tiny things. I had a lot of fun with this video. It was pretty simple, but it was very enjoyable. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it too, and I'll see you the next time I upload. Well, if you come back. Okay, bye.